I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The more you talk, the harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? No. You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Bow, 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 bow. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with another movie review, and this is for the third entry in the review series we're currently doing, and that is 1982's Rocky III, which once again is directed by Sylvester Stallone. Pretty much like the majority of them were. Majority of the Rocky films were directed by Stallone. Majority of the sequels were. But we're on to the first one of the 80s, and the one where it pretty much started to get more mixed reactions from people by this one, but what's the plot of this one? So, Stallone returns to the character of Rocky Balboa in Rocky III, where the Italian stallion himself is so famous that his likeness is everywhere, including pinball machines, even making guest appearances, finally able to do commercials now. Fame and complacency soon caused Balboa to lose his title to young thug Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, who causes the death of Rocky's trainer Mickey. Before their first championship bout, he then sinks into depression, and Balboa must regain the love and support for his family, and the elusive Eye of the Tiger, pretty much the hungry need to beat the opponent at former foe Apollo Creed from the first two films, who is pretty much now his friend in this film, has pretty much mentors and teaches him during this film's training sequence, and he has to face, so Balboa can face off against Clubber Lang once again, for a second try. So that's from a reaction. After the last one was more of an epilogue, we get this one. This one is much more of a normal sequel to the Rocky series after the two-part first one, and this is what really kicks off his journey and story as a worldwide champion. And for this one, when it comes to my thoughts on this one, now I will say this. It is one of the weaker entries in the series, but it's still a good film. It's by no means horrible. It's just one of the least great of the series, is all. Especially compared to a certain one that's going to be next that I've actually kind of started reassessing, in a way. Started reevaluating it. It's just a step down from the first two. It's kind of the one where people started to get a little worried for the series' future, and where it kind of started to get less acclaim to some people who kind of preferred the first two series films. This is kind of where the more comedic stuff does start to happen. It still does have some of the series tone of the first two movies, though. It doesn't get all. It's not like Marvel comedy today. No, it's not that. It's not like what Marvel does today nowadays. Like, no, when they still want to be serious, they at least still actually take the serious stuff seriously. Here, it's still a Rocky film at the very least. So how was it made? So development of a third one began right after the release of Rocky II. Stallone began a strict diet and working regimen for preparation, and despite the return of the original cast being secured quickly, casting, though, for Clubber Lang proved to be very difficult. Real boxers, Joe Frazier and Uri Chavez, got attached to the project, and eventually Mr. T got hired in 1981 when he appeared on a television series called Games People Play, and ever since this movie's been considered his big breakthrough role. And Rocky 3 would be the first film to not be distributed by United Artists because they had merged with MGM in 1981. Then, after the film was officially shot and completed, Rocky 3 would be released in the United States on May 28th, 1982 by MGM or UA Entertainment. The movie, unlike the first two, got more mixed reviews from critics. They praised the action sequences and music, especially, like, the music is still once again praisable. This is the first film where you have Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, it's the eye of the tiger, the dream of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival, and the last known survivors start to spread in the night. It's just watching the eye of the tiger. They're still such another epic theme song. Like the montage theme song's so great, but this is like for when it comes to the ones that are performed by singers and bands, "Eye of the Tiger" is the best song of those. But they criticized the screenplay, and there's some who thought the film was unnecessary. When honestly, I disagree with that. I don't think the film's unnecessary. I actually like we had more films about Rocky's journey, and we didn't just have those two. We didn't have just the first two movies, obviously. Like, we need to see more about how rest of Rocky's journey goes. So no, the film is not unnecessary. It isn't. And neither is 4 either. 3 and 4 were just as needed. And the reviews were later more positive, and now the film does have a cult following. After the film was officially shot, I said that already. At the box office, it made $270 million worldwide, and it surpassed its predecessors. And for a while, was the highest-grossing film before Rocky 4 came out years after this. Like this film, ironically, came out around the same year as Stallone's next big breakout role, First Blood, had released. It was the 4th highest-grossing film at the box office that year, and the 2nd highest-grossing film in 1902 worldwide. Eye of the Tiger became a hit single and got nominated for Best Original Song as well. Then Rocky 4 released 3 years after this. Alright, here are the good qualities in the story of Rocky 3. So, why Rocky 3 is still good, it's why it's not as good as the first 2 films. This Rocky movie gets a rather quick flowing film compared to the first 2-hour movies, and does feature a bit more comedy while still having the drama and spiral show scenes that were in the first 2 movies. The fights here are different too, like we did not have 15-round beatdowns of the first films, but are 3 rounds of pure hard hitting, and we start out with a strange charity match, kind of showing like how Rocky's new fame status has grown ever since the events of the second one, where Rocky, the heavyweight champion in boxing, goes against the heavyweights champion of wrestling. And the Rocky series does stumble a little bit, but Stallone once again writes and directs the film, in addition to starring, where Rocky's now gotten even more rich, more famous, more beloved. He defends the championship successfully one bout after another. Then eventually, Clubber Lane wants to challenge Rocky, who accepts though, despite the reservations of his trainer, Mickey. This is pretty much definitely a good popcorn film, but it's where like people were starting to feel like felt like it was striving to be that, is what some people were starting to think around the time this first came out. And of course, Mr. T, honestly, some people say Clubber Lane's is kind of too goofy as a villain. No, he's not, actually, because now, granted, okay, maybe he doesn't hold a candle to Dolph Lundgren in the next one. Dolph Lundgren, to me, is the best villain in the series. Easily. Apollo Creed does not count as a villain. He doesn't. Rocky 4 has the best villain in the series. Clubber Lane is good, but doesn't really hold a candle compared to Dolph Lundgren did. Where Dolph Lundgren felt more like an actual threat rival that meant business. Well, Clubber Lane also does in a way too, but he also is kind of one of the more goofy villains of the series. And the late Hulk Hogan, may he rest in peace, does have an appearance here as this wrestler Rocky has to fight on a charity event. And the whole Parzel series is kind of a little silly and a little out of place, but it's still a good way to show Rocky's fame and stuff. Like, show how like Rocky's been since the events of Rocky 2. The actors are wonderful again, and Stallone directs with such great aplomb as well. Focuses on one side of his hero for the first time ever, where Rocky now finds himself afraid, has to battle to dispel the fear. Talia Shire, Burt Young. Now, they don't really have too much to do, but they do provide some decent backbone that Rocky himself requires. And Burgess Meredith is excellent once again as a sympathetic Mickey for the brief bit he appears in. And of course, Apollo Creed is back in this one, and he undergoes significant character development where he ends up switching sides from, well, somewhat rival to actually now full-on ally ever since then. Who pretty much, Apollo Creed's now kind of a fight host who then trains Rocky, but pretty much becomes Rocky's new trainer after Mickey passes on, that I'll get to in a little bit. And Mr. T, he has some goofy moments as Clubber Lane, but he's still tough as the bad guy. At least he's still an actual threat rival that actually causes Rocky some hardships in this one. As pretty much it doesn't stop him from being entertaining as well. So how do we start off? So we start off, it's 5 years after winning the World Heavyweight Championship against Apollo Creed and Rocky 2. It's now 1981, where Rocky Balboa is now has a string of 10 successful title defenses, and his fame, wealth, and profile have all increased. And pretty much to the point where he's now able to film commercials properly, even at one point in the montage, actually got a guest appearance on The Muppet Show, even ironically of all things, and doing charity fights and stuff. So pretty much nowadays, after the first two films, everything went through the first two films, he's now became a new worldwide champion. And so Rocky's manager, Mickey Goldmill, starts with Warrior Lee Isis, young, powerful contender that gets rising through the ranks called James Clubber Lane, our villain of the movie. And like the villain of the movie is definitely a love to hate kind of villain because he's entertaining, but he's also definitely an asshole fighter. Because at one point in the finale, there's this one fan who disagrees with him and he pushes him out of the way, so like rudely. And so he's like it's definitely kind of an entertaining moment. It just shows how much of a love to hate character this guy is. Right there. And it feels because he pretty much doesn't care about anybody but himself. He's really selfish, narcissistic, like how some rival villain should be portrayed. And Mr. T plays all those hateable qualities of Clubber Lane very well. He unveils his statue of himself at the stairway by the Museum of Art, and Rocky thinks about announcing his retirement, but it gets cut short when Clubber Lane decides to publicly challenge him, and Lane accuses Rocky of accepting challenges intentionally from lesser opponents, and goads Rocky to accepting his fight for the title, but Mickey originally doesn't want to be a part of this, but Rocky pressed him to doing it, and Mickey then confesses that the opponents were handpicked for Rocky's title defenses to spare him for another beating of the kind that Apollo Creed gave him in their rematch. And he explains that Lane is this young, powerful, and hungry rival, and while Rocky's much more civilized, he doesn't have the stamina strength to fight on Clubber Lane. He even tries to talk Rocky out of the fight, but Rocky is now immediately shattered and horrified to realize all of his fights were pretty much stacked and picked for him. And so he convinces Mickey to work with him for one last bout. And despite his promise to Mickey to live in the gym, Rocky then insists on allowing the public to watch him train in a crowded ballroom with many distractions, and Lane, on the other hand, trains alone with determination and vigor, and pretty much you can see where this story's going to go. Where Rocky thinks, though, he can win, but Lane is much more, straight up more trained and much more ruthless. Rocky 3 does have the most entertaining value, though, because we know the characters, we know the love story, and now we kind of like see more of that and see the first really tougher challenge that Rocky himself actually has to face. And it features scenes that really do harken still back to the 76 emotion we had in the first film, where you started off with the wrestling exposition cheer event and some more montages of Rocky's wealth and stuff. Like now, while the first two are much more simple and grounded, Rocky 3's a more clear move to the bigger, more showy approach with the rest of the series. Some may dislike this distancing tone of the original film, and sure, maybe those who kind of prefer the more character-driven first two films. I wouldn't really blame them for that, but to be fair, Rocky 2 did also kind of follow a bit of more different kind of formula too, while still being as grounded as the first one was. But Rocky 3's showmanship is a perfect approach for this. It's not trying to recapture the magic of the first one. It's trying to go a new direction now. So Rocky 3 is still very entertaining. The first 30 minutes, like Rocky 3, do feel a little silly, but the point is it's kind of supposed to feel silly in the first 30 minutes. You have to see Rocky accepting all his fame and stuff, and all like all the other appearances he's on, because when you get bigger celebrity status, of course you're gonna be invited to a bunch of silly charity events and stuff. And the point, it is kind of also funny to see Rocky actually make an appearance on the Muppet Show as well, which is kind of funny part of the montage as well. And some may say it's all over the place, but personally, I don't think it's all over the place. I think it's easily well balanced. So, Clubber Lang and Rocky meet at the Spectrum on August 15th, 1981, and the pandemonium erupts backstage when, though, Mickey gets violently shoved by Lane, and it results, unfortunately, this ends up giving him a heart attack after this heart condition that gets evidenced during Rocky's charity fight. And Rocky's, though, distraught, and is originally going to call off the match for Mickey's sake, because he's now realizing that he might lose the closest thing he has to a father figure, but Mickey urges him on while he gets medical care, and so Rocky, though, is too distracted by his concern for Mickey, so he's now unprepared, and he can't concentrate on the fight. Rocky's able to pound Lane, though, with some huge blows, but thinking he'll get an early knockout of Lane, but Lane, because he's well-trained, he's much more ruthless, and he's more intimidating. He recovers, and he takes charge, and he dominates Rocky, and he finishes him off with a left hook in the second round, and he wins the heavyweight championship. And then after that, after losing the fight, things get worse for Rocky here, because by this point, though, Mickey's now dying from that push, and Rocky has to tell him that the match ended in a second round knockout without saying the victor was. And you get easily what, to me, is easily the most heartbreaking and saddest death of the series. I mean, Apollo Creed's death was pretty sad too, but personally, I think this is sadder because with Rocky 4, you kind of know Apollo Creed's not going to last the fights because how even more intimidating Dolph Lundgren really is. But here, like, this is kind of an out of nowhere moment. And here's the thing. Rocky and Creed didn't start out as friends. They started out friends after this movie. Here, Rocky and Mickey had this kind of this father and son bond since the first film. And this is the club, and Rocky's pretty much now losing to his father figure he had at this moment right here, where Mickey tells Rocky he loves him, and he pretty much dies at Rocky's arms. And right here, Stallone gives a heartbreaking performance when he warns Mickey right there, and actually then breaks down crying even. Like that. That's honestly one of Stallone's most Oscar-worthy moments, and it's sad the performance in this scene gets overlooked because it's a heartbreaking moment. You feel Rocky's heartbreak right there, just losing his own father figure and mentor right in front of him, especially because this death was caused by Clubber Lang, because Clubber Lang basically killed him. So that pretty much. And likely because he knew that would distraught Rocky a lot, and he would immediately win the fight. So that was even worse to me. And to him, like losing Mickey was much more of a distraught for him than losing a fight. Really, so, and it pretty much really haunts him for the rest of the film. Like he mourns over Mickey's death, falls into severe depression. So. To me, this caused the most problems for Rocky, and so I consider it the saddest moment of the series. And one of the saddest film scenes of the 80s. So he stops by the closed gym that Mickey ran, and Rocky then encounters his former rival, Apollo Creed, who had witnessed the match as this analyst, and also Apollo Creed does not like Clubber Lang, and is also disgusted with Clubber Lang's behavior. So, because here's the thing, him and Rocky did start rivals, but Apollo Creed is not a ruthless cheater. That is really the thing. He's not, that's the thing. He actually still takes boxing seriously. And it was actually a good sport. And so he offers to help train Rocky for a rematch against Lane, so in exchange for this future favor that he does accept, that Rocky accepts. So he takes Rocky to the gym where he wants to train, in Los Angeles, and because Rocky is still haunted by Clubber Lang, and also haunted by losing Mickey, Rocky is unable to put in some of the effort, and this gets Apollo a little frustrated, though. And so basically, though, when Rocky does regain his focus, is because Adrian eventually helps him come to terms with Mickey's death. And it's another moment where he pretty much then more announces how disparity really is, and Adrian tells him what happens not his fault. He's gotta let it go, right there. And so that's why, like, I say this film's not the silliest one, is because they still have this. They still have some more emotional tones of the first two films, and so after like Adrian helps Rocky overcome Mickey's death, he then Apollo and his manager Tony Dugevers they infuse Rocky's undisciplined brawling style with more Apollo's trademark footwork, called skill and speed, and so he could become a more complete fighter. The pacing is still very solid. It's still satisfying on a primal level to see these two guys punch each other with sound mixing. Especially, you still get another classic montage where Eye the Tiger plays, and the song that's become such another classic theme of the Rocky series. It's the main theme of Rocky 3, to the point where you can see why the song was such a smash hit in 1982. And even though it's still a very popular song for a lot of fitness people, even today. The film plays on many emotions. It really shows the friendship between two rivals, some interesting relationships between the characters, and it really still achieves what it wants, and it's very entertaining to the viewer. Right here, this is definitely a film where the series became a really true product of the 80s. It still has the fun stuff of the 80s, it's still unpretentious, and it still has lots of action and fun characters, while it still keeps up the tone of the first two movies. And easily, another thing about these Rocky films is that Stallone always does draw from personal experiences with doing the film, like whereas like Rocky 1976, his career began, Rocky 2, it started to continue on, and by Rocky 3, right there you see explore when Rocky lets fame go over to his head, like he's not too much, doesn't get too much in touch with reality, and well, this is around the time when Stallone had gotten more famous, because now he started getting roles like First Blood, and even quite a few other roles too. This is kind of made around that time, like when Rocky first came out, he was kind of a newcomer around that time, and it's well documented within the film. And it really sends out messages of the warnings of like what happens when we get over famous and start kind of relying over fame too much. So Rocky spends more months in training, now more focus, and the rematch ends up taking place at Square Garden, New York City. And remember those American flag trunks he wore during their first match in the first movie? Well, Apollo lends Rocky them, and of course, when he tells them, like, just make sure you wash them when you give them back, and but so Rocky wears them, and when he gets to the outside of the match, Rocky sprints from the corner, and he's able to batter Lane with a level of skill and spirit that no one expected, and he's able to dominate the first round, but Lane is now outraged by this, and he's bewildered after the bell, and so, though, clever Lane is able to get the upper hand in the second round, and Rocky adopts this different strategy that really angers and confuses Apollo by taking a beating from Lane, even getting knocked down twice. But he taunts Lane that he can't knock him out, so regardless of whatever he does, like there, he pretty much then he doesn't let the whole beating from Lane really affect him at all, and he just laughs in his face that no matter what he does, he can't always be the winner by this point, and Lane is too arrogant and used to winning matches with knockouts early rounds, so he loses his temper, pretty much has this like punch throwing tantrum wildly as Rocky taunts him, and Lane, to the point where Lane just pretty much then runs out of breath and runs out of energy. So he's rattled and vulnerable now. So Rocky then pretty much strikes back with a bunch of punches and with a brutal knockout to reclaim the heavyweight championship. And it's a satisfying moment right here. Like, it's very satisfying to see Lane get so cocky and arrogant, thinking that he can win against Rocky again, but Rocky pretty much lets the attack happen to him to basically trick him into losing all his energy, and then gets payback, and pretty much gets revenge for Mickey's death by pretty much knocking him out cold. Like, knocking out the arrogant bastard so cold like that. Like, it's very satisfying moment right there. And like Rocky does maintain his laid-back demeanor and lets the insults and taunts roll off his back, which is one of the qualities that really allows his character to win so many hearts of Stallone fans. Right there. And after like Lane taunts Rocky's wife, and he actually does get really angry. And for the first time, this is where you actually see Rocky much more angry than he did in the first two films. And of course, and then of course after this, everything does start to fall apart. When he finds out his championship was not what he thought it was, he got put in a position where he has to defend his wife's honor as his own. He has to fight a fighter that no one really believes he can actually beat at all. Especially because his last one's got arranged by Mickey himself, because Mickey was worried about him. Like, there's no mistake to really be made. Like, Clubber Lane actually really feels like a legitimate killer. He doesn't have interest in getting a knockout. He doesn't have interest in just winning a fight. He actually really seems like he really wants to injure and kill any of his opponents. And that actually really includes Rocky. Like, to the point where he actually does emotionally break him throughout the rest of the film. We're pretty much pushing Mickey and straight up killing him, basically. Which pretty much affects him for almost the entire film, until Adrian talks him out of it. And like, this you can see why this film was a perfect little introduction for Mr. T in the film industry. Right there, because his villain is such a love-to-hate character. Like, he's enjoyable because Mr. T gives a great enjoyable performance as Clubber Lane, but he's such an arrogant bastard, you also hate the guy. Even. Like, he's, I'll say, a perfect example of a love-to-hate villain. And one of the best villains out there with Dolph Lundgren's character that Rocky has to face, and really ends up getting one of the most iconic and well-done boxing fights of the series. So after we get off the finale, so after Rocky defeats Clubber Lane, he finally decides to honor Apollo's favor, because that's what he did promise. And we find out what that is, and apparently Apollo's favor was a third match. It's a funny way to end the film. Although this time around, it's not a rival match per se, it's actually a more friendly sparring match at Mighty Mixed Gym. Right there, so it's like a much more friendship hinting, like now more friendship symbolizing match, and they're not rivals anymore. And the movie then concludes with the two throwing the first punch, and it shows the two equally skilled athletes facing each other not as rivals but as friends. And it's a friendship that would continue on to Rocky 4. But that's how Rocky 3 ends. I have Tiger plays in the credits, where after Rocky won the fight against Lane and kept his stats and also avenges Mickey, and goes for a friendly rematch against Apollo, showing how much friendship they have now formed by this point. And this friendship lasted into Rocky 4, to the point where, for up until Apollo Creed had been murdered, Rocky pretty much became a family friend of the Creeds. In a way, so it's a nice way to end this third film. That's weaker, that's kind of one of the more weaker entries, but it's still solid. Alright, so now do I have any bad qualities with the film? So, yeah, sure, like, there's still lots to love about the film, but I can get why there's a few problems with the film. Like, this one, Rocky seems to be a little less of the character that had been crafted in the first two films. Like, now this is the 80s, where Stallone started to have a more different look because he started getting more roles around this time. Even 1985 is his biggest year yet. Rocky doesn't feel like kind of more like the official character this time around, but I also do like how Stallone kind of puts more of himself in Rocky in this movie. And while the story overcomes this shortcoming as well. And the first third of the film does kind of drag a little bit. Paulie and Adrian don't really get a lot to do in this movie, where Paulie's kind of just more of a comic relief character. And Adrian doesn't really get a lot to do in the movie either. In this one, it kind of felt like they didn't know what they really could do with her character up until that talk she has with Rocky about I has to let go of Mickey's death. Up until that point, she doesn't do a whole lot in the story. And some of Paul's lines would come off a little too bizarre and off character. And what else can I think of? No, I can't think of anything else, because I think other than those, I think Rocky 3 is still another solid entry in the story. I mean, granted, it's not as good as, let's say, maybe the now reevaluated 4 or Balboa, I think are better movies, but it's still good. It's still good. So in the end, I'd say Rocky 3 is also worth buying. It's not as great as 1 or 2, but if you're ready to see Rocky take on another foe that's much more dangerous this time around, and the first where he's a worldwide champion, that's still worth a watch. Anyways, that's it for my view of Rocky 3. And when I'm going to rank Rocky 3, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you want to see what happens after 1 and 2's good story, then I'll totally watch and buy Rocky 3 for your collection for sure, no doubt. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Rocky 3, I'm going to give Rocky 3 a 7.5 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That officially wraps up my review for Rocky 3. And so Rocky 3 is back on the shelf, so now it's time for our next Rocky review. We're going to check out the one I've reevaluated a little bit. And well, this will be fun to rewatch. So don't be surprised that I'm suddenly changing my thoughts on it. But I'm going to explain more on that in the review. But our next Rocky rewatch, what everyone considers the fan favorite, Rocky 4. Also, which got released in 1985, the same time as First Blood Part 2. And 1985, guys, was a really big year for Stallone. And I'll explain more on that in the next review. Now, I want to know in the comments down below what you guys think about Rocky 3. Whether you like this one as equally much as the first two, or whether you're like me who thinks it's good but also one of the weaker ones, or just don't like the movie. And until then, guys, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to Don G. Corleone.